Greetings, Tony Mobley here, and welcome to a new conversation with Tony Mobley. Today, Conversation with Tony Mobley is simulcast on both YouTube and LinkedIn Live. We would like to welcome our radio listeners in Cincinnati, Ohio on Z98. And you can hear us on the radio by going to z98.1fm.com. On Conversation with Tony Mobley today, I am talking with Dr. Muhsinah Morris on the metaverse. That's right, the metaverse. And she is back for a return engagement to bring us up to speed on what the metaverse is. This is episode 75 of Conversations with Tony Mobley. That's right, 75 Conversations with Tony Mobley. I want to thank everyone for being a part of the journey. Again, you can watch us on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, and my website. What's my website? Conversationwithtonymobley.com. Conversationwithtonymobley.com is produced by valued audio and video professionals who meet daily on Office Hours Global, hosted by Alex Lindsay. Thank you again, Z98.1 FM, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube. Conversations with real people. Last week, we had a great conversation with cancer survivors, panelists, John Preto, Kimberly Mobley, Ruth Vanessa Peniston, and Sky Gleason. Thank you all so much for our conversation last week. Now, again, I want to thank the team behind Conversation with Tony Mobley. And if you want to participate in this conversation, you can go to conversationwithtonymobley.com and ask your questions in the Mukana chat. Why do I want you to do that? I want you to do that because you can put your questions in and those questions can be voted up and down. Again, that's Conversations with Tony Mobley. Now we're going to get to it. We're going to get to this conversation with the fabulous Dr. Muhsinah Morris. Hello, Dr. Morris.
Hi, how are you?
I am fantastic. And I'm so happy that you could come back and be with us again and give us an update on the metaverse. And we're going to start with the very first question. And the very first question is going to be, who is Dr. Muhsinah Morris, Ph.D.? And that's for our listeners who had not had an opportunity to find out anything about you.
So interesting. You did ask me that before. And since then, I have actually discovered more about who I am. And when I think about that question now, the first thing that comes to mind is that I am a woman of God, connected to the people of God, doing work for the kingdom of God, and spreading love and joy and radiating good so that all the world can follow. I am somebody who is proud of who I am, and looking back over my life, to be quite honest, I am who, as a little girl, I hoped I would be.
That is so fantastic. And I didn't think that we were going to get into any faith questions tonight, but now that you have opened the door, I imagine that there will be some producers, people who are watching, we call them producers. And so we imagine that some producers will probably ask you some questions about faith. So thank you so much. And I know you have, we had a conversation and you had a eventful weekend and a week last week. And so if you want to share anything about that at a later time, or if you want to share it now, you feel free.
So yeah, I'll share it now. You know, I'm really sitting in the seat of gratitude. I'm currently talking to everyone from my bed. And the reason why I am in my bed is because I had a terrible car accident. And from that car accident, I have a tear in my right hip and some ligament or tendon tears in my arm. And I go get an MRI tomorrow to figure out like how extensive the damage is in my right leg. So I'm on crutches, and I have been doing all of my work from right here. Um, and I'm just grateful to be alive, for one. I'm grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful to be able to still, tell about and share about the work that I've been doing. And I am okay. It's not easy. So I'm smiling, but I'm smiling because, God is real, and, He watches over me. And I refuse to allow anything to keep my spirit down when I have so many other things to be grateful for. I have a wonderful, loving husband and kids who are surrounding me, taking care of me. So I'm a mom of 5 boys, and their ages range from 26 all the way down to 5. So even the little 5-year-old baby Cameron is trying to help his mama. So I have been completely loved, and I've been showered with gifts from my colleagues at Morehouse, colleagues from around the globe. I got flowers today from Kai, from who's Black entrepreneur of Kai XR. I mean, just lots and lots of love, lots of DoorDash credits, lots of gifts from my Metaversity team. People just showing up for me, and I'm grateful for that because that means that people value that I show up for them, and that's really important to my heart. So that's what's going on. But God is still God, and I'm fine, and I'm gonna be all right.
Well, I just want to share with you that on yesterday we were having a conversation about our House of Worship Christmas kit, and the gentleman who either followed you or you followed him, Triumphant Michael Jenkins, was a part of the conversation in the skit rehearsal. And one of the things we were talking about, people going through things, and one of the things that he said was, you don't have a testimony without the word test.
Not at all.
And in our conversation yesterday, I shared with you that this is all about building your ultimate testimony.
Correct.
And I'm so glad again that you were able to be with us. And so now we're going to get into the meat of why you are here, because we want to get an update on the things that have transpired in the metaverse since the last time you were here.
Yes.
Can you share with us how things have changed since you were here last on Conversation with Tony Mobley?
Oh, mercy. Let's see. Oh, God, I'm so excited. So many good things have happened. We tripled our course offerings at Morehouse College. We are this semester offer 10 courses in the metaverse. We began teaching a Black entrepreneurial mindset course from business, the intro to sociology course, general biology, and that's along with the journalism and other courses that we've been teaching, Intro to African American Studies. They've been doing a service learning project. We've even tapped into our Morehouse Online, still studying culturally appropriate avatar creation and culturally responsive spaces being developed and built by our students. Most importantly, we've become an award-winning program. So besides adding all of the other courses, even doing a lot of outreach in the community, we have won several awards. So we won the HBCU Emerging Technology and Innovation Award by CBRE, and we won the first place unconventional award in industry by T-Mobile. We won, we won another award. Oh, the Ed Scoop top 50 unconventional, well, not unconventional, but innovation and education award. So we have just been racking in all of the awards about our program. And so we've added brand ambassadors in terms of students. We're still doing our different experiences, but we can go into depth about that. But we've been published by several different outlets, from Wall Street Journal to Ebony and Jet magazine to, oh gosh, Black Enterprise. Oh gosh, so many other ones. NBC News. We've been on the local news. It's just been like a whirlwind. Meta did a community voices piece on myself and how I got started, and why am I pushing the envelope in terms of metaverse education and about our program. And so it's just so much good stuff that is happening. So I'm really excited.
So now that you shared that, I want to make it really clear for those people who are listening, because as you were saying it, I understood a lot of what you were saying, but when you talk about the different courses, what does that mean for the student? How are they embracing? What does it look like when they are in these different courses? Because you shared different subject areas, but you said they were all in the metaverse, and so
Right.
like history and science. And so what does it look like? What are the students experiencing when they're in the metaverse in science, for example?
So I'm a biomolecular chemist by training, and I started teaching my advanced in organic chemistry course in virtual reality, immersive virtual reality. Our students enter the metaverse using the MetaQuest 2 headset. So they're completely immersed in a digitally simulated world. We have ed tech partners, Victory XR, whose CEO is Steve Grubbs, who built out a digital twin of Morehouse College for us. So we work in tandem with our software development team at Victory XR to create locations and spaces in real-time 3D using the Unity platform. We are on the Engage app. So Engage is the application that we use to deliver our content. So what it looks like is our students put their virtual reality headsets on. They are real live people behind every avatar that is being created or been created in the space. And once they get into the headset, they click onto the Engage app and they spawn or they appear all either on Morehouse's campus or in a classroom or lab or Mars or space or wherever we choose to hold session that particular day for that class, all together. So every student is represented by an avatar. Me as the professor, I am there with them. So it is a synchronous learning environment that is a persistent space. A lot of the spaces we as professors add virtual assets to, three-dimensional assets, to increase engagement, to make the space more reflective of the type of environment that our HBCU provides. So a very culturally responsive and engaging space. So our students are locked in as their own avatar personas in this particular space in real time. And so we have a learning experience together. So what does it look like for science differently than history? You can't see molecules. So because you can't see molecules, it's really important for students to be able to understand the molecular world. One of the things that being in virtual reality unlocks is for you to be able to really increase that visual spatial intelligence that is necessary to be a good scientist, to understand how these molecules are reacting, to understand their size, their shape, the reactivity, their symmetry and coordination chemistry. All of those things are visual things that can be manipulated, and you can manipulate your avatar in very unnatural positions to be able to give you a different perspective of how the molecular world works. So that's one of the things that can be done. But then, like, you take history, for example. Imagine I want to talk about the Great Wall of China. Instead of having to talk about it or students having to read pages and pages about how many steps it is or what it looks like or when it was built, I could just take them to a field trip right there to the first step and they can walk it. And that part is we're experiencing history. We're experiencing things in real time all together. And because there are real live people behind these avatars, those memories, those experiences are actual real experiences for you. So you're creating new memories and you're creating new neural connections, and you're able to go places that you couldn't have gone before. We can't go back in time. I don't care how we try to think that we can. We can't. But in virtual reality, you can. So we recreated certain battle scenes in World War II, certain pieces of literature that are actual factual. So people talk a lot about this La Amistad slave ship that we have and that we've created. And it's created a bit of a controversy. One of the things about Morehouse is that we're a historically Black college and university. We interweave Black life history and culture in every lesson. And while the slave ship is something that people have never seen done before, it was done so that people can have an emotive experience and understand the amount of strength that it takes to endure something like that. And we tell the story of the strength of the enslaved Africans that were on that ship and how they had the wherewithal and the brilliance to fight for their right to freedom and how they were able to win. So it was so much more than just, oh, we're talking about slavery again and woe is me. This is a story about strength and about victory and about overcoming challenge. And it's also a way for other cultures to embody something that we have always known has been a sordid part of our shared history in America. And a lot of times people don't understand the horrific atrocities until they experience it. And then they're able to step back and say, oh, wow, I should have a little bit more compassion because this was really traumatic. Or, oh, I did not even realize. It's very much so, just as much as we honor every other culture and every other experience, we need to make sure that some of these things that have happened in the past are not recreated. So it's not about glorifying slavery or just only wanting to talk about that. We talk about so much more. And the one thing that caught people's eye was that one piece, because we are a Black school, but we talk about everything. Our students have gone to Japan, they've gone to the pyramids, they've gone to, like I said, on the World War II battleship. They've been in Mars, on Mars with the rover and gone and looked at the planets, and they've done all different kinds of things. So it didn't just start and stop with this one course that we are going to be rolling this slave ship out of. So I wanted to be clear on that because I've gotten a lot of asked questions about it because it's been
I can imagine.
the talk.
I can imagine that there's been so much, so many comments on that. But I thank you for being transparent and sharing that, and also the fact that it is not limited to just the history of things that have happened in the past, but possibly future activity that can be. I want to ask this question now. I'm supposed to ask it a little bit later, but I want to ask it now. So,
go for
how
it.
how far are we? How far are we now away from Star Trek's holodeck?
Interestingly enough, some of that technology exists in some capacity. It's just that it's in pieces, right? So everything isn't fluidly working together like people think. So we may have pieces of that technology in terms of holograms that people are using, but they can only be that one like hologram on the desk. Like I can teach a student in another geographical location by just, showing up as this figure on their desk or something like that, or preserve some historical pictures and things that we could then pull up and they show up as holograms. But there's not a whole lot that is being discussed in terms of what we saw. We thought that we would already be there, but we're not there yet. We're close, but we're not there yet. And that is why we do teach in the metaverse, because what I want all students to know is that you don't have to be super techie, a software engineer, or coder to be technologically sound and savvy and to understand how these technologies work so that we can get closer to that holodeck.
Very cool. Thank you, Dr. Morris, for sharing that.
So,
let's see. The next question is, please talk about your Ebony article. And please talk about your Ebony article. And I'm going to share the article right now.
okay.
Okay. So you want to go ahead and start with that caption? Can you see it?
You know, when your house is a smart home, you have all kinds of things that start talking to you. So Morehouse College becomes the first college or university to offer courses in the metaverse. And that is 100% true. So Morehouse College is making history as the first college or university to offer classes in the metaverse. And that was WSB TV that reported that. In partnership with VR tech company Victory XR, Professor Ovell Hamilton is, listen, you're not going to have me looking at this little small writing when I got the article
You're
right here.
absolutely right. Just go ahead and talk about it. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
So
you already went into some of it, but I really want you to really speak to it and also reference those other articles that you mentioned too, in terms of everybody getting a holistic view of what is really going on, because I don't think that we understand the magnitude of what you have shared in terms of what Morehouse is doing right now. To be the first college or university to actually have classes across disciplines that is embracing the metaverse. Okay, so I'm gonna just talk a little bit while Dr. Morris comes back in, and I just want to say that I am are you back? Okay. Okay. So I was about to say I'm a Morehouse graduate, and I am so proud. I am so proud that my alma mater is doing this and is leading the way, because I just feel like there are no limitations in terms of where you can actually go in terms of this learning experience. And we have had conversations on online communities where we talk about the importance of experiential education. And this is definitely one of the ways in which that can be accomplished. And so I'm so thankful that Morehouse is leading the way. And okay.
I'm
all right,
back,
Dr.
but you know, normally I'm tethered into my Ethernet cable, but because I'm broadcasting from the bed, I'm basically at the mercy of this Wi-Fi.
That's okay. And so we are happy to have you tonight, and we're going to and so if you just want to talk more about the Wall Street Journal, the WUSB, the Ebony, just give us a little, because again, we don't understand I don't think that we generally understand the monumental task that this is, and the vision that it took for all of this to take place. And how do you feel about it as being the director of the Metaverse program, professor at Morehouse? Okay. So we're gonna push through and give Dr. Morris another chance to come back. And um, those producers who are listening and those of you who are on the radio, I encourage you to go back and watch the original conversation with Tony Mobley, where Dr. Morris was on, and she was talking about the metaverse. And we have grown by leaps and bounds since that time. And Morehouse has, in terms of that program. It is an amazing program. And we just are so thankful that we have Dr. Morris to come on tonight and to share with us the fabulous things that are being done at Morehouse. And let's go to the next question. And so I was very clear in understanding that when Dr. Morris, I asked her about the different places that you can go, and there does not seem to be a limitation in terms of where you can go, past or future. Dr. Morris, are you back? Can you speak to that? Okay. So one of the things that Dr. Morris did mention was that um, there was a lot of controversy about the the metaverse experiencing the slave ship and that horrific experience. But not only is that a place that we can go to. She mentioned the Great Wall of China. I imagine that if the Gettysburg Address, if you wanted to be in attendance at the Gettysburg Address, you could do that. There are no limitations. She mentioned that students could actually go to Mars and be there with the rover. And so there are so many different experiences that you can have in the metaverse. And so we are going to, I think we're going to call it a night. And I know that Dr. Morris, as she shared earlier, had horrific weekend. And if we're gonna okay. So I'm just curious, are there some questions that I might be able to speak to from the audience or from the producers? Do you have any questions that you might want to ask me about what we've talked about so far? Oh, okay. So my experience at Morehouse was I went to Morehouse at the age of 24. And the reason why I went to Morehouse at the age of 24 is because I was I was I'm going to say a very good basketball player. And I didn't get as many scholarship offers as I would have liked. And it was a very complicated situation. I ended up going to a place that didn't really want me, but I went anyway, and things didn't work out. I got injured, and that was the end of college. And I went to work, and I worked for 6 years, and I did all kinds of jobs for those 6 years. And one of the things that happened during those 6 years was that I learned how to become an offset pressman. And so I had a dream, and I shared this dream with my mother. I had my own place, and I was a full adult. And I was telling her I had this dream that I was at Morehouse College, and she said, "You need to act on that dream," and I did. And so I got on a plane with a sweater, boots, full length leather coat, arrived in Atlanta. It was only 82 degrees, and I had on all that winter gear. Went to Morehouse, met with Dean Lawrence Carter,
Oh
told him
my.
told him that I was a minister and that I wanted to attend Morehouse. Didn't have any money, but I had a skill. I could run the printing press at the college if I had an opportunity.
Wow.
And so he said, good enough for me. He took me to the Morehouse Office of Public Relations. Dr. Alan S. May was the director of public relations at that time. He introduced me. We talked. He said, yes, we have a printing press. He showed me the printing press. I thought, I can run them. I can run them. He said, okay, I'm going to take you down stairs to the financial aid. I'm going to take you to the admissions office, introduce you to Dr. Sterling Hudson, who is the director of admissions.
Wow.
Had a conversation with him, got admitted. Then I went to the financial aid office and I met with Margaret Carr, who was the director of financial aid at that time. Got enrolled, got financial aid set up, and I left.
Wow.
I left the campus that day as a student in that was November of 1983.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, 1980, November 1982. And in January of 1983, I was enrolled. And 3.5 years later, I graduated from Morehouse in 1986. During that time, I had tons and tons of jobs. But I think the most effective, or the most thing that affected me the most in Morehouse was chapel. It was chapel on Thursdays. And we had the most dynamic speakers in
Yep.
the entire world to come to
Yep.
chapel on Thursdays, 11
We call
o'clock.
it.
Everybody had to be there.
Yep.
And
They
you
still the
name
case.
somebody, and they were there, regardless to where they were in the globe. They would come to Morehouse and they would tell you that you can do anything and that there is nothing that is impossible for you.
Yep.
So I'm this person who's been in this space and had this exposure that tries things, because I have been educated to think that there isn't anything that's impossible for me
And
to do.
yep, that is Morehouse, and we still have Thursday, I guess you would say chapel, but we call it Crown Forum now. And it's run by Dr. David Wall Rice, who is he's also a Morehouse alum and psychology professor. And he has done a fabulous job of continuing the tradition and the legacy of what Crown Forum is. And one of my big goals is to infuse Crown Forum in the metaverse for our Morehouse Online students so that they can understand what it's like to actually be on the campus of Morehouse College, and how you have to have your white dress shirt with your maroon tie and your dress pants and sharp for that service to start. And so I am hoping that we can get that to become a part of our program. We've already done some work with a few Morehouse Online students, in the metaverse where they've had to do a service learning project. But you are right. Morehouse is a place that is small, but it's mighty. This very intimate, nurturing place of education happens for young Black men in a way that tells them who they are, not who they are not. And
Mm.
it keeps them fueled with what their capacity is. And for me, as a mother to five sons, I really believe in our young Black men understanding their place as leaders in our society, but also in our family structure. And when I think about why this work is so important to have begun at a place like Morehouse College, which is a historically Black college and university, and I'm a Clark Atlanta alum, so it's not that I feel like it should have only started at a HBCU, but particularly for young Black men, I think it's really important for this type of innovation to have begun here because it gives Black men a sense of self, a sense of pride in their own brilliance and their ability to innovate. And I want our young Black men, with all of the images that are so negative that are in mainstream society about who they are, to be transformed. I want them to be able to write their own narrative of how they built the metaverse, how they shaped history, how they changed the narrative and exhibited their brilliance, their genius. And it was regardless to what discipline they were in. Like a lot of people think that you have to be this, computer science person or that you just have to have the aptitude to do it. And I believe that every single solitary student at Morehouse College should understand extended reality technologies, the metaverse, Web3, and what new technology, AI, machine learning, data science, all of it, what it is going to do for humanity and how it's going to allow them to level the playing field in a way that is good and fruitful and not just steeped in entertainment, athleticism, or, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer. Like, I really believe that technology and innovation is, and this entrepreneurial mindset is going to be the way that our young men are able to get ahead in their disciplines. And so I want them to not just be consumers of this technology. They're also learning how to produce and create these virtual worlds on a Unity platform. So we have many tech partners that have worked with us from the first iteration of just us coming up with the proof of concept was funded by Southern Company and Qualcomm. And then Unity Technologies jumped in and said, hey, you're interested in this because I said, listen, I'm interested in us looking at culturally appropriate avatar creation and representation and culturally responsive spaces, and they gave us the capacity and the dollars to do it. So Unity Technologies has given to us twice for this program to fund it, to give out stipends and research dollars towards it. We have then Meta came in with a gift in kind of headsets. So we have now over 500 headsets on Morehouse's campus, but they came and gave us 350 of that 500. And we work with T-Mobile on connectivity. And so we have $25,000 from them worth of equipment and hotspots and connectivity and wearables that students will have. Plus we have connections with, I have my own research group. So we working on 21st century skill building in virtual reality, and that's funded by the National Science Foundation. And so I am still looking for foundational dollars because I don't have the the money that I need to continue to fuel this program in a way that it should be. I want to be able to give out scholarships and internships and do summer bridge programming. But even with what we have, I think that I've been a good steward of what we have to make a difference in many ways. So I see that there
And
are more questions.
I have to start clapping because thank you, Dr. Morris, for what you're doing. Thank you so much. This is an amazing journey, and I don't know if those people who are listening appreciate all of what you're saying in the programs that you're talking about, and the after school program, the summer programs, and all of the exposure. Oh, this is groundbreaking, and this is really powerful. And how can people help you?
To be honest, we need money. And when I say that, it's not, oh, we need money. And you see the HBCUs do get a lot of dollars, but we get a lot of restricted money. I need unrestricted dollars to be able to keep my young Black men from working at CVS or McDonald's to work their way through school, like how you worked at the printing press, but that was internal. I need students to work in our, hopefully be able to build a space where students can have an innovation lab of their own, not that is, down the street or around the corner on another HBCU campus because the AU Center is so close, but that our young men at Morehouse have an innovation center. We need space that needs to be built out for that unconventional innovation space. We need to be able to staff it with young men who are learning skills about XR technologies, and they need to be able to do research in this area that pays them so that they can stop working and splitting their time outside of their disciplines to be able to pay for school. So one of the gifts of my own education was that I was a PRISM-D fellow. I was funded by the Office of Naval Research, and the M and the D in PRISM-D stood for matriculation to the doctorate. So the goal was to make sure that you left school with no debt, it was completely paid for, and that you worked in your field or your area in the summers and during the school year. So I worked in chemistry labs for an entire 5 years. Imagine what that can do for a student that's working in any level of technology. You get 5 years of experience and summers at different places around the globe that you can utilize that experience that is paid for. And then by the time you're applying for graduate school, then you can increase the amount of doctorates we have in our community. You can increase the amount of professionals in tech or innovators that we have that are filing patents because they understand intellectual property. They understand the entire process of innovation and entrepreneurship. They understand the digital economy. The digital divide has been closed. Wage gaps start to close, and you start to see a difference in family structures and function. For me, this is about saving the lives of our young Black men and giving them an opportunity to leap ahead. And I have not seen any amount of salary dollars that come as quick and as fast as technology dollars come. When someone is good in tech, it doesn't matter if they're degreed. If they're certified and they can do the job, they have the job, because we need people that have that kind of understanding. And I have seen people transform their lives being in a cutting edge field, whether it's networking, cybersecurity, tech, software engineering, data science. In any level of tech and innovation, I have seen young people go from in debt to now being the person that is creating generational wealth for their family. And what
Wow.
is really, really hard for our young men to swallow is that they leave Morehouse College paying $43,000 a year, and they leave with almost $200,000 of debt for an undergraduate degree. And when they go out in the workforce, because they don't have this technological also skill to go with it, then they either have to go back to school to get a higher degree to get the kind of dollars that they need to pay off their debt for getting educated in the first place, or they end up like defaulting on student loans because they can't pay it with a $30,000 to $40,000 a year job. And for me, that is unacceptable. And when I think about 20 generations of our people not being able to be educated in this country, I think about the only way to get ahead is to really innovate, to innovate and use that brilliant creativity that we have to propel us forward and pull our communities out of this deficit. And it's not about who owes us. It's about what we are going to do for our next generation to make sure that they are well prepared to do the work that we all need for them to do. So it's about what connects us and less about what divides us. So for me, it is urgent for our students to get the amount of funding that people really think that happens and is given to us, because it's not, and see us as the Ivy League school. Because I know a lot of people will open their dollars and their money for Ivy League schools.
I'm going to stop you right there.
But I need them to open it for us.
Not see us as an Ivy League school. We are an Ivy League school. Morehouse is, let me say it again, Morehouse is an Ivy League school.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to stop you there, because the conversation that you're having right now, that needs to be a special conversation with Tony Mobley. So those people who are listening, they want to talk about the metaverse. So we have a question from our good friend, Liberty White. Liberty. What are you interested in learning about the metaverse?
For me, I want to know how, to be honest, I want to really know how we are going to use the metaverse for good. Like, when are we going to all come together, collaborate on it, and make it what we think it should be, which is this interconnected space that, we can shop in, that we can gather in, that we can, do all of the things that we really do in the real world, but then we can have real serious conversations about sustainability efforts. And you can carry on your persona from one space to the next. So, like, at what point are we going to get to where the metaverse is actually the new internet? That's what I'm waiting for. And that's what I am studying all the time. Like, what technologically needs to happen for it to be commonplace. I know people are not very fond of going into a virtual reality headset, not all, but then you take like my 5-year-old and he can't wait to get them on his head, right? But you think about older people and the weight of it, and that is still, not as portable or not as powerful. You don't want a whole lot of radiation happening around your eyes and your head. So I want to know what our next level of technology is. And I'm a chemist, so I'm thinking about what's the next new material that we're going to use to power these devices that are going to make it possible for them to be lighter, faster, and more powerful, that is also going to be sustainable.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Liberty White, for that great question. Can you share some of your wonderful LinkedIn/YouTube network partners that we should be paying attention to? Those
Absolutely.
Individuals, professors and doctors like yourself.
So I have to shout out our VR pioneers in this space. So all of my professors at Morehouse College, Dr. Ovell Hamilton, Dr. Ethel Vereen, Dr. Tanya Clark, Dr. Tara Taylor, Dr. Adria Welter, Mickey Harris, LaVanya Jones, oh Lord, Dr. Monique Earl Lewis, Dr. Rosalind Odom, Denise Like, I could think about 1,000 people, but my VR ultimate team is who I call them. Look for them on LinkedIn. And then definitely Dedrin Sneed. Dedrin Sneed is CEO and founder of Subsume Studios. He is a phenomenal technologist and graphic artist, and he's trying to create Black Pixar in Atlanta. Um, we also have Gatherverse. So Christopher Lafayette, who has Gatherverse. It's all about a humanity's first approach to the metaverse. Um, let's see, Nania Reeves, who is the CEO of Trip VR, does meditation. Um, let's see, one other person that I really love, Kai XR. She does Makerspace, has a platform in XR where she goes into schools and does Makerspace. There's also a wonderful lady by the name of Dee. Smile Honey Child is the name of her organization, and she does these beautiful virtual reality camps with teenagers, creating safe spaces for them. And Florio is a company. I have a child that's on the spectrum, and they use virtual reality to help the neurodivergent population to have better speech language communication and to gain these social emotional learning skills. So those are some people that I would definitely follow. There are so many others that I could shout out and name, but those are a few. Oh my gosh, Damien. What is Damien's last name? I can't think of Damien's last name, but he does some AR work, and he does great work. So
Okay, we actually have a question from Australia, Dr. Morris. We have a question from Australia. Zachary Sorensen. What is the defaulters between VR and AR?
what does he mean by defaulters? If he could type that in the chat, like, is he asking for the difference between the two?
I'm assuming.
So when I think about virtual reality versus augmented reality, so virtual reality is being in an immersive a head-mounted display, like our virtual reality headsets, and then entering a completely digitally simulated environment. And so that means that some of your senses are cut off. Now you have virtual reality headsets like the MetaQuest Pro, which are giving you what's called pass-through, so that you can see some of the outside world, and that you're not completely cut off from the outside world. Augmented reality is more mobile. So we always say that AR is a more accessible way to experience virtual reality because it can happen on your mobile device. And augmented reality is just where you overlay some digitally simulated environment over the real world. So we do it all the time now, even with Amazon. Amazon, you go buy a chair and it says, look at how this chair will look in your office or your room. And the dimensions of the chair are there, and you will use your mobile phone and line it up, and it'll sit that mobile chair in that space, and you can see what it looks like in your room. So basically, you're adding to or augmenting the space, the real world space. A lot of people akin that to Pokemon Go. But you also have mixed reality headsets, which give you both of those worlds. You have a head-mounted display on, but your hands are tracked. So you're able to manipulate and augment the space around you. But you have on a headset, but you don't have joysticks. So I hope that answers the question.
He will let us know. Believe me, he will let us know if we didn't answer the question. So what's next for you, Dr. Morris?
Taking over the world. No, actually, I am hoping, like I said, to build this program not just at Morehouse College, but at universities all over the world, and continuing to help my professors, my fellow colleagues, regardless to what discipline they're in, to learn the skill of delivering education in the metaverse. I think it's really important for our young people. And I really do believe that true adoption is going to take place in the educational system. And when we start talking about workforce development and making sure that our young people are technologically savvy and sound, but also have digital literacy and scientific literacy, it's going to take place in an environment that they're already really latched onto. They're already in the metaverse of sorts with Roblox and Minecraft and Fortnite. And so that generation of students has come to college, and it's time for us to engage them at that level. So for me, it's about making sure that every institution has a metaversity, and being like a metaversity chancellor and making sure that everyone has the best practices and knows what to do. And pre-service teachers are also getting trained in this technology to be able to implement it once they go into the K-12 classroom. So that's what's next for Dr. Morris.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think this is the last question. What do you want people to know about the metaverse?
I want people to know that the metaverse is for all of us. So I took a big leap of faith and started my own company called Metaverse United, where we help people find where they belong in the embodiment of the metaverse. And you can find me at unitethemetaverse.com. And the reason why I did that is because I want everyone who is alive, every human, living, breathing person from the womb to the tomb, to understand that they have a place in this environment, that they have a niche that is particularly theirs. And we need all of your gifts and talents to come to the table to help build out the metaverse that we want to see. And so I think it's extremely important for people to understand that this metaverse belongs to you too. And we need all of your gifts, your talents, your abilities, the unique you that you are, to come and help us to build this very humane, very safe, very fun, innovative place that we will all end up passing through. So that's what I want people to know. I want them to not be afraid to fail forward, and that this place creates opportunistic reality. And by opportunistic reality, I mean that it is going to create opportunities beyond our wildest dreams. And it is a $33 trillion industry. And so we need to jump in with both feet and make sure that we are helping young people get to the place where they can be the people who they want to be. So that's what I want people to know.
Wow and wow and wow again. Thank you, Dr. Morris. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you so much. Another question just popped in. Let's see. How far away is it for the technology for all of this to be more common?
I think that, to be honest, the pandemic did us a real solid in moving technology forward in the last 36 months, more than it did in 36 years. But what I do understand about it being really commonplace in every place is that there is still a bottom line. This technology is still expensive in some capacity, and in order for it to be in every household, we're going to have to bring down the price point. But what I think is going to mean, what will happen in terms of like true adoption, is when it gets into the schools, when technological companies decide that they're going to invest in the school, like when they put that one little Apple computer in the computer labs when we were kids, and then everybody would go and learn how to use that one little Apple computer. That's what I think is going to be transformative for XR technologies. Every school in America needs an XR technology lab, and then we're going to see major adoption take place. But it's going to start in the schools.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Morris, again so much. And thank you, Zachary, for your multiple great questions all the way from Australia.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you, Zachary. And Zachary also helps us out with our YouTube channel moderation also. And so we thank you, Zachary, so much.
Thank you, Zachary.
And we want to thank everyone so much for being here today. And thank you again, Dr. Morris. When you have time, please go back and look at the 70+ episodes of Conversation with Tony Mobley. Again, today is episode 75.
That's a lucky number. I'm good for that. Yay.
I want to thank everyone so much for helping. And we hope that these conversations, that you like them and that they are helpful. And we want to continue to have these great conversations. We want to thank our radio listening audience, 98.1fm.com, Cincinnati, Ohio. Special thanks to Taylor Sonderhouse and the team behind Conversation with Tony Mobley for making this happen. Thank you again, Dr. Muhsinah Morris, for your conversation today, for doing the work you do.
Thank you.
Next week, we're going to have educator Chantel Jackson. And I think that I am responsible for connecting Ms. Jackson and Dr. Morris.
You are.
So Ms. Jackson will be our guest next week. Again, we thank you so much for participating in Conversation with Tony Mobley. We will continue to have conversations on mental health, filmmakers, musicians, other creators. We will have interesting conversations with people. Please like and subscribe and go to our website, Conversation with Tony Mobley. And our credits should be rolling. And we want to say thank you and good night. Take care and God bless. See you next week. Take care, everyone. Thank you again, Dr. Morris.
Thank you.